Today we're here with my friend Liv. She is one of the pastor's wives in my church, which is weird to say because we were good friends before that.
Yeah, it is weird to say. It sounds like I'm like older and wiser than I am. But
You're wise, But yeah, you're the pastor's wife for all now, so it's cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, but anyways, we've been friends for a bit. Our husbands are like besties, so she is joining me today because I admire her theological knowledge on things. And yeah, I was like, let's chat. And she's had a podcast before. Is it still running? Like, you want to plug your podcast?
It's not. If it was, I definitely would. Yeah, we kind of, we had a podcast for a while. I did it with a friend, Allison, but we basically, once we both had babies, we were like,
Yeah.
well, we don't have any more time to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we could probably make time now because both of our kids are a little bit older. But yeah, when they were first born, it was like hard to find that time to do that. So it kind of just fell off the radar. We tried to start it up again once, but it just like we did, I think, one episode and then we never got back together. So it's hard to stay consistent with it.
Yeah, you were consistent at first though, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember listening. It was fun. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like even this episode, it was hard to plan.
Yeah, well, because we were trying to do every single week. So then it was like, we had to find time every single week and then find time to edit and everything. So
yeah, I just basically like accept that it's going to be super sporadic when I get episodes out.
I feel like that's the better way to do it though, because then no one's like waiting for it on a day. They're just like, oh, there's another one. So
yeah, exactly. That's good. Okay, so let us start. Oh, I guess I didn't even talk about what we're talking about.
What are we talking about, Lydia?
Well, the goal is to kind of touch on how feminism is affecting the various aspects of, pregnancy, birth, labor, motherhood.
All the things.
It's very vague, but I think as we talk about it, it'll be more specific as we get into it. And I kind of wanted to obviously pull in some theology and stuff. So yeah, in my last video that we did, in the comments, one of my buddies, I haven't seen her in like years, but she recommended a book called The End of Woman, and it talks about like the history of feminism and the roots, and that kind of inspired me to be like, okay, let's talk about feminism, because this actually, like the book made me realize like feminism affects so much of how we go about our daily lives. In general. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about that.
It's a huge part of society, I think, right now. Like, everyone believes something about it, whether it's like they know they do or they don't, or they're very extreme about it, or they're to the opposite extreme. So I think everyone kind of has an opinion on it. So
yeah, that's true. Do you have any experiences with like where you've been at on feminism? I don't know. That's a bad way to question that.
I definitely, I agree with some of it, but I don't agree with some of it as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a broad topic that I feel like there are parts of it that I'm like, yeah, like I definitely think, women should have equal rights and like things like that. I think women should be paid the same as men are, like things like that. But I think when it comes to kind of more the extreme end of it, it gets into dangerous territory where it's like we hate men and like we don't need men for anything and all of that. Like I don't agree with that. So I don't know. It's just such a broad topic that I agree with some of it, but not all of it.
I feel like I was like super feminist in high school. I think. I think especially growing up in a Muslim society, you can kind of go two ways. Like seeing men treat women like that, you can either adopt that mindset where you think women are just like lesser and men are gods, basically. Or you can adopt the mindset of like, I hate men, men are evil, men suck, women are better, kind of thing. So I definitely adopted the latter. So I know as I was coming to Christ, or just, I don't know exactly when I was saved, but as I got closer to him, definitely like the verse on submission was like so hard for me. Cause I was like,
I think it's hard for everybody because they're like, what do you mean? I'm my own person. I don't have to do that.
Exactly. So, but we're going to talk about all that stuff. But yeah, I was just curious where we were both at on that. I think I would agree. Like there's obviously parts of feminism. I think like what it has accomplished in the past, there's some of that I agree with. And I think I have a question that covers this, but I feel like I wouldn't agree with like the core of feminism.
I would say I'm probably in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I used to be a little bit more on the extreme end of it too. Just because it's like when you first hear about it as a woman, especially when like you're someone who is a little bit more independent, which I definitely am. It's like, oh, I don't need men. Like, I can do things on my own. Like, go women. Like, women should, be in power and things like that. Like, it's easy to want to, support that. But then I think as you actually take it deeper, you realize that, like, there are kind of problems that arise out of that, just ideologies that arise out of that that are not necessarily healthy or biblical. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like it's actually kind of like a constant battle.
yeah,
Because it's
it
so
definitely is.
ingrained in our society that it can be hard to like pick apart what parts of my thinking and like my ways of life are influenced by like feminism and
Yeah.
not actually like godly, I guess.
Yeah, well, scripture says that too. Like, you'll want to lord over your husband.
Yeah.
I think is it Genesis 3? I don't know what verse, but I think it's in Genesis 3 when they talk about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, when the fall happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean, this is kind of tangenting a bit, but like that's so applicable to most wives, I think. Like wanting to control your husband, it's like the main issue.
Yeah, like even if you are in the mindset of like wanting to be like a godly wife or whatever, I still think it's hard not to want to have elements of control and being like, control what they do or they don't do, especially if it's something that you don't like or something that's inconvenient to you a little bit more, like something you have to sacrifice for. It's really easy to want to control.
That's true. Yeah, I definitely feel that.
We have a lot of control.
Yeah. But anyways, I have my my first question. So this is just the starting one. Can feminism align with Christianity?
I mean, I kind of think like what we just said is kind of applicable here too. Like certain parts of it, yeah, but I think when you get into the extremes of it, both ways, I think that it starts kind of falling away from God's original design for us.
Yeah.
When you get into the extreme of, women wanting to lord over men and wanting to have all of the authority, all the power, all the leadership, I think that can be, that can kind of stray away from what's actually biblical and what's actually God's design. But I feel like the other way too, it can, where like men then become dictators and women become lesser than. I mean, yeah, like what you were talking about, like in different societies, we already see that. But yeah, so I think it can, but it's like you have to be really careful with like what part of it you're talking about because it can definitely fall away from that on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
So I would say, first of all, it kind of depends on what our definition of feminism is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we see feminism as just like some of the stuff it's accomplished, which I think it's easy to see that, like to not look at all the underlying things that feminism has as a part of it.
Yeah.
It's easy to kind of just look at like, oh, well, now we can vote and now we can work. Like, how could you be against feminism? But it's like those things in and of themselves are not feminism. That's not like. Those are things that even like somebody who's not a feminist could fight for, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I was thinking about like at its core, feminism kind of seeks to redefine women and like to make them kind of more like a traditional man. That was just a thought I had. Because I was thinking like you see feminism like pushing women away from wanting to have kids, pushing them away from like wanting to stay at home and take care of those kids. Like a woman is praised if she's like going to work and like is like, oh, I'm gonna get my tubes tied. It's like power to you, girl. Like it's kind of like they want to take away that responsibility of motherhood from women. So I feel like at its core, feminism seeks to redefine women. So instead of accepting womanhood as being like nurturing and motherly and all those different things that, God shows us is a part of being a woman. Not that you have to be a mom to be a woman, but women in general are different than men. And we like notice people's emotions better. We happen to be more nurturing.
Could be both.
Yeah, both,
Both and.
Yeah. So I feel like feminism seeks to take what they see in men and put it on women because they get jealous. Oh man, like the man gets to lead. I want that. Like the man. And so to me, it's kind of not realizing the joys of womanhood. Like, instead of looking at how God made women and like the roles God put women in and seeing those and being like, these are good and a blessing, instead it's looking at men and saying, I don't like what I have. I want what they have. What they have is better. So let's try to get that kind of thing. And so I think at its core, that's what it is.
No, yeah, I've never actually thought of it exactly that way, where like it's kind of trying to make women into a traditional like male role. Like it's almost kind of trying to erase a woman's role that God has designed her to have. And then, and again, I'm not saying like women can't work or women can't lead anything. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. I do think that women can be leaders in various contexts. I think that women can work and have careers, but I agree that like it's kind of trying to take away that role of just like who a woman is internally and then kind of trying to make it into more of like a male.
Yeah.
I don't know, because, you know, I think everyone sees society as male dominated, so then it's kind of trying to take women and put them in that exact role too.
Yeah.
And just kind of trying to erase what they were maybe made to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And we see that like with the what is a woman thing and trans stuff, like, and that's a whole different topic, but
That
like,
is.
it's so applicable that they're just trying to like erase womanhood. Like, it's almost offensive to say that part of womanhood is being a mother. Yeah. Because then it's like, oh, well, not every woman's a mother. But it's like, okay, but you have to realize that that is kind of like a core of being a woman. Not that you have to be a mom, of course. I have to put that out there.
Right.
But it's like women were created to be nurturers. Like, and men were created to be providers. And like, you know, you can be mad about that, but that's just the truth, you know? So I don't know. I think also feminism is very harmful to women because instead of looking at the things that God has given us as like joys and blessings, we're just like dreading them all the time, which is so like a small like example is like women, or not even women, like teenage girls when they get their periods, it's like the worst thing in the world, and everyone's always complaining about their period. Like, I've totally complained about it too, you know. And yet like that's actually a blessing. Like I might cut this part out if it's TMI, but like I was having my period and Ava saw and she was like, oh, mommy, why are you bleeding? And I was like, because like
it's a fair question.
Yeah, I was like, because that means God is like making my body so I can have more babies. I told her.
I love that answer because I feel like most of the time you get kind of the scientific answer, like from your parents if you ask like why is this person bleeding or, you know, whatever. Like, I kind of got more the scientific answer of it, and I didn't understand what that meant at all because I was so young. So, like, I love that answer of, like, oh, it's making it so I can have more babies. Like, this is how it happens.
Yeah. And, like, for me, I think for me, I've been breastfeeding very heavily, so I actually haven't gotten, like, a true period ever since Ari's been born. And for me, like, that's actually sad. Like, we're not trying to get pregnant, but I love having the possibility of maybe getting pregnant. Like, I love that. Like, I'm like, I just want to accidentally get pregnant, but I can't accidentally get pregnant if I'm not ovulating. You know,
this is true.
For me, like, it genuinely, it's like to be able to get my period back again shows that like now I am fertile, hopefully, you know?
Yeah.
And so it really is like a blessing. Like, and when you study the way the menstrual system works, it's amazing. Like, the whole thing is working just so you can have a baby.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So like, but no one's taught that. Like, they're always taught the negative things, and like most young girls and women, most people have no idea like what's going on with the menstrual system.
That is very true, actually. It shocked me the amount of like my friends. So people that are, you know, in their late 20s that have no idea that like they can't get pregnant at any time. And they don't know the simplest part of your cycle that like I just feel like everyone should know, but it's not their fault. It's just because no one told them, you know, and they never really thought to check. All people told them were, you know, be careful, you might get pregnant. And it's like, that's so crazy to me that like not everybody knows that, but
because you have that book too, the Taking Charge of Your Fertility. Amazing book.
Of Your Fertility is a great book.
It is a good book. It's obvious, it's like secular, but it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very informational. It like helped. It helped me a lot to understand everything because I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
like,
but neither did I.
When I was probably like 21, 22, I had no idea. So it helps a lot. But yeah, and I think even as someone who like probably wouldn't want to get pregnant on accident, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
It's like, it is such a blessing because there are so many people that, you know, like they'll have issues with that, or they can't get pregnant like very quickly, or they can't get pregnant at all. And it's
Yeah.
like they have to go through, you know, so much in order to get that. So I think, like, you know, when you do have that consistency in like your cycle and things like that, it might sound just kind of, you know, I don't know, TMI, or like, that's not a blessing. Why would you talk about it that way? But it really is, because, you know, it means that there's a possibility of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I love that.
Just a thought.
I love talking about that. Yeah. And I think like there's so many other examples of things that are kind of essential to being a woman that are just like totally looked down on.
Yeah.
And I think Josh and I talked about that last episode with having kids. Like it's already looked down on a bunch, you know?
Yeah, like people are like, oh, you're having kids. Like, why? Like, why would you want kids? Or, well, you know, I've heard people who, it's usually, of course, people who don't have kids that talk about this way, but like, you know, just saying stuff like, well, that you don't get to do anything you want anymore. Like, your life, it revolves around them and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, it does, but like, I like it that way. Like, it's a good thing, and it doesn't mean I never get to do things I like, you know?
Yeah, and it's like you're practically forced to do what Jesus commands us to do, which is like serve others, you know, like
yeah, it's definitely it's sanctifying. Like, just like marriage is sanctifying in a lot of ways, like having kids is also very sanctifying, because it, you know, causes you to put them first a lot of times, and it does cause some sacrifice, but it also, like, you know, you can work it out so you still get to do the things you like to do. And all of that, but you know.
This is kind of an aside, but I find this funny because anytime I do anything that's like unrelated to motherhood, I feel like people are like, go you, Lydia, that's amazing.
I know.
Like, and obviously I love doing these things, and it's great that I can do these things, like even the podcast or doula work, like it's great, but it's so funny to me because I'm like, you like, my true joy is motherhood. The only reason I want to do this podcast is because I love birth and all that stuff so much. And the only reason I like want to be a doula is because I love birth so much, you know? It's like, so it's just kind of funny because I think people like almost see it as like being the mom is like the boring part that you're chained to. So when you're able to get free of that, it's like, oh, good job.
Which is so funny because, like, for me personally right now in my life, I work full time, but I'm also home full time. Like, I work remote full time, and I still get to be home, but all I want is to just be a mom. Like, I don't want to work. I don't want to like do anything else. And I know that's not everybody's goal. Like, I know lots of people want to work and have a career and things like that. I'm not saying that's bad, but for me, it's like, that's all I want. So then, when people are like, oh, good for you, you get to still do stuff. It's like, I mean, good for me, I guess, but also, like, I really just want to be a mom.
Dude, I feel that. Right after I'd given birth to Ava, I was still at Regent, like, studying, and I was finishing up my...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was finishing up my degree, and, like, to be fair, like, she was born in March, and I graduated in May, so I was probably just having a lot of, like, hormonal emotions.
Oh, my gosh,
I was, like, so over it. I was, like... I'm the type of person, I love learning. Like, I love going to college. I love going to classes.
The learning during the newborn stage is... that's a lot.
That's true. But, it was a lot. Exactly. It was a lot, and then also, like, I was just so ready to be able to just be a mom. I was like, I don't want to have to be thinking about anything else other than my kids. Anyways, that was...
a little bit of a tangent to our feminism topic.
Great.
But...
Oh, and then I was going to also say with the period thing, like, so many women there's so much, like, birth control options as well. It's, like, constantly trying to stop your fertility.
I know, that scares me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've never been... Well, I was on birth control, I think, once when I was, like, 16, just because my cycle was really irregular.
The pill, or which one?
I think it was a pill. Okay. But it was very short-lived. It wasn't a long thing. And then also, I never went back on it. Like, even after getting married and stuff, because I was just, like... I remember having, like, roommates and stuff in the past that were on it, and I remember one of them talking about, like, taking a sugar pill, like, so you would get your period. I can't remember. I think it's, like, if you take it, you get your period, but if you don't take it, you won't. And I was like, that's terrifying. Like, the fact that it's just making you, like, not do what your body naturally does, and then, like, you could force it to, but, like, you don't have to, but then, like, what does that do to your body if you're not doing that? Like, it just scared me. I'm, like, getting off of it, I can't imagine, like, trying to get back to being regular again. I don't know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't necessarily go on birth control if someone feels like that's like right for them, but I don't know. It's always scared me a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's hard too because like there's just so much more we don't know about so many things.
That's a good point too.
Yeah. And like it's hard because it's kind of like a catch-22. I think that's the correct phrase for this.
Yeah.
But like because doctors have found it to be that birth control can like alleviate so many of the symptoms,
Right.
it kind of masks the problem. So there's no need to look into the problem and find out other solutions because we have the solution, birth control.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then that means that the resources are not going towards studies to like actually search up other ways to tackle this problem. So because of that, there's just not like, and of course there's like fringe people studying that kind of stuff. Of like other options other than birth control, and I think there's a lot more of that now than there used to be. But it's still not like in the spotlight. Like people aren't listening to that as much. And then like for stuff like endometriosis, that's really hard because it's kind of like incurable. Like you could do surgery, but it can always come back. And so that's one of those things where like having birth control just like makes it more manageable.
Right. Yeah, and that I can imagine how hard that would be. Like if it's so painful.
Yeah.
Then if something helps, like, you know, why not take it? Like,
and like there's no
Yeah.
And I don't know, again, fringe studies that will show like things that can take it away or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I saw something about like the carnivore diet taking away PCOS and endometriosis and stuff like that. Yeah. Well,
interesting.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I do.
I mean, if it's a major elimination diet, so you're cutting out all those disgusting stuff. I don't know if it's just because you're eating meat, but it's probably because you're cutting out everything else.
Yeah, that's also true. Cutting out sugar, cutting out gluten, cutting out dairy, everything good in life.
All the chemicals. Yeah, good in life. Yeah, I feel that. But yeah, okay. Yeah, I had like a whole list of other joys of womanhood, which I called them.
Do you want to just name some off?
Sure. I wrote, period was the first one. I said our emotions / care, being a homemaker, being a mother, being led in marriage, pregnancy and birth. This is a random one, but I just like thinking about it. Excess fat stores to protect us. But also like when you're postpartum, your body holds on to like around 10 pounds of fat if you're breastfeeding in case of dire situations where you need that extra fat to feed your baby.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
Yeah, it is cool, honestly. I mean, most people don't think so, but
yeah. I guess like these are just things that like I think of that are amazing ways that God made us that like are seen as like negative a lot of times.
Yes, it's actually a very cool design. Is the thing, and people don't see it that way. For sure.
And then I said also breastfeeding and modesty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a blessing to be able to be modest, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe a hot topic.
I feel like breastfeeding too is like, it's so crazy. Like, I mean, to be fair, with my first baby, I wasn't able to breastfeed, but I always thought like how cool that is. That like you can literally be the source of food for your child. And like you're the reason that they're surviving. Like you're able to feed them and nourish them and keep them healthy that way. And a lot of times, like that's such a cool. It's just such a cool thing.
It is so cool. I could do a whole episode on breastfeeding. Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Probably would want a guest that has done breastfeeding, but yes, I do think it's very cool. Yeah, and that's what I hope to do in the future. So.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm sure you could. But yeah, oh, another point I wanted to add before we move on to the next question is just at its core, feminism has been like linked to the occult the whole time. From the beginning, because some people will say, oh, I don't agree with feminists now, but I agree with like the first wave feminists. And I used to always say that, even like as a Christian, I think. But now like after I read that book, I was realizing, oh wow, like no, it was always had like bad origins and was tied to
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you should read the book.
How is it tied to the occult?
I was always reading the book when I was like laying down by Ari.
If you remember, it's fine. But
no, it was just like I think a lot of them are like witches or just new age stuff like that.
That's what I thought.
Definitely read the book. They covered it sequentially. I don't know. Like so they covered the first wave feminists first. So that's the stuff I forget the most.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really interesting. And there's so much, but like a lot of the first wave feminists were really into like free love as well. So that's kind of like, you know, being with anyone.
Right.
I guess open. It'd be open now or whatever. But either way, it's just they had like a lot of really weird roots. And it was kind of like linked to the occult over and over. I'm trying to remember exactly like.
I mean, that makes sense. Like when you first said that, my first thought was like probably like witches and things like that. Like,
and abortion too. Like it was and then like eugenics, like it's been tied to eugenics. Yeah, but like just a lot of those early feminists, it's like they didn't just have like she was looking at like a lot of their writings, and a lot of their writings were like super extreme. Like they were settling for like just small changes, but their goals have always been correct.
So it's always really been the same.
It's always been the same.
Yeah, it's like we always say that because it seemed less extreme way back in the day, but it's because the goals were probably like different. Like they were accomplishing small steps at a time, but it was like always the same to make it how it is now. Probably. Yeah.
For sure. And
that makes sense.
It's definitely a good book. I recommend it. I would say it was, maybe it's just because I'm not as into history, it was a little bit hard to stay engaged with it.
Yeah. I don't love history either. I wish I did.
There's some history books, like one of the books on my shelf over there. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Birth. That is a great history book. And like it goes over the history of birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a great book. I don't recommend it while you're pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah, the history of birth is a little gruesome. But
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and that's also a secular book. But anyways, I guess my point is that particular history book, The End of Women, is a little bit drier to get through. Still engaging. I finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, next question. Oh, this is a good question. Are traditional roles God ordained?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think that again, just like anything, I think you can take it to the extreme.
Yep.
And it can kind of fall off the wagon there. Where it doesn't align biblically, but I do think that God ordained roles for men and women from the beginning. I mean, we see that in the garden. So, yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes too. And I would say, like you said, people can take it to the extreme, and people can misunderstand what somebody means when they say that. So,
100%.
I would say, like, yes, roles are ordained, but this can also vary. Like, we live in a broken world where things can be different, and like, and there's like less than ideal circumstances where it's going to look a little different in each person's situation. And so I also think like, obviously like somebody who's working can still be a homemaker. Like you don't have to stay at home 24/7 to be a homemaker.
Right.
So there's like things like that where like you don't have to be a stay-at-home mom to be a homemaker. Things like that. So
that sometimes you need dual income. And so.
Yeah, exactly.
And
especially
then,
in this economy.
Yeah.